What if I told you that the most powerful voice influencing your future is the one inside your own head? For the next 5 days, you're going to learn how to talk to yourself in a way that changes everything: your mindset, your confidence, and your results. Every single day, you have a conversation that determines your destiny. The one you have with yourself. The words you repeat in your head shape your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your reality. But here's the truth. Most people spend their entire lives bullying themselves with their own thoughts. I'm not good enough. I'll never make it. I always mess things up. For the next 5 days, I want you to flip that script. I want you to start talking to yourself like someone you love. You don't need fancy affirmations. You need honesty, compassion, and power in your voice. When you wake up tomorrow, look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I've got you. We're doing this." That's not cheesy. It's how you start building self-true. Every time that negative voice shows up and tells you you're not ready, answer it. Say, "I may not have all the answers yet, but I'm learning." When you feel tired, say, "I can rest, but I'm not quitting." When you feel behind, remind yourself, "My timing is my own." Because when you start speaking to yourself like a friend instead of a critic, you unlock courage. You stop waiting for external motivation because you become your own source of strength. For 5 days, make this your challenge. 1, no self-insults. 2, no comparing. 3, speak only what helps you grow. And every night before you sleep, thank yourself for showing up again. 5 days may sound small, but when you change your words, you change your energy. When you change your energy, you change your behavior. And when you change your behavior, you change your life. So talk to yourself like someone who deserves a better life, because you do. The way you talk to yourself is the foundation of who you become. Every word, every thought, every silent sentence you whisper inside your mind builds the story you live. You may not realize it, but your self-talk is shaping your confidence, your decisions, and your future in real time. Think about it. If every day you tell yourself you're not capable, not worthy, or not smart enough, how do you expect your mind to fight for your success? It won't. Your brain follows the narrative you feed it. It doesn't judge your words, it obeys them. If you keep saying you're not enough, your mind starts collecting proof of it. It will remind you of every mistake, every rejection, every flaw, and it will quietly erase every win, every strength, every moment of progress. That's how powerful your internal dialogue is. It becomes your identity without you even noticing. You weren't born doubting yourself. That voice was learned from criticism, comparison, and the pressure to be perfect. But just as it was learned, it can be rewritten. You can train your mind to speak differently, to become your greatest supporter instead of your biggest critic. It starts with awareness. Listen to how you talk to yourself throughout the day. When you make a mistake, do you say, "I'm such an idiot"? Or do you say, "I'll do better next time"? That tiny shift may seem small, but it's the difference between growth and self-sabotage. Words are not harmless. They are instructions to your subconscious mind. Every positive phrase is a new program being installed, one that tells your brain to look for strength, opportunity, and solutions instead of failure. If you tell yourself every morning, "I'm confident, I'm capable, I can handle what comes my way," your mind begins to find evidence that proves it. You start standing taller, making bolder decisions, taking actions you used to avoid. It's not magic, it's repetition. You've been rehearsing doubt for years, and now it's time to rehearse belief. Think of your mind like a muscle. Every time you speak kindly to yourself, you re-strengthening that muscle. Every time you catch yourself being harsh and choose different words, you're teaching your brain to respond with calm, focus, and courage. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about telling the truth in a way that empowers you. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I haven't figured it out yet." Instead of saying, "I'm failing," say, "I'm learning." The goal is not to avoid discomfort, but to stay strong inside it. When your words reflect possibility instead of limitation, you start behaving differently. You stop hesitating, you stop holding yourself back, and you start showing up with quiet confidence. The language you use becomes the lens through which you see your potential. Change your self-talk, and your reality follows. The moment you decide to speak to yourself with belief, everything within you begins to align with the person you're capable of becoming. Most people don't realize that they spend their entire lives being our own worst critic. They pick themselves apart, question their worth, and replay every mistake until it becomes their identity. But imagine if you talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself. Would that friend want to stay? Would they feel motivated or loved? The truth is, you've been carrying that harsh inner voice for so long that you've mistaken it for truth. It's not truth, it's habit. And the only way to change it is to become your own ally instead of your enemy. Being your own ally doesn't mean ignoring your flaws or pretending everything is fine. It means supporting yourself through challenges with the same compassion and patience you would offer someone you deeply care about. When you mess up, your instinct might be to attack yourself. You say things like, "I'm so stupid," or "I always ruin things." But what if instead you said, "That didn't go the way I wanted, but I'm learning"? That simple shift changes everything, because now you're treating yourself with understanding instead of punishment. Growth doesn't happen in an environment of shame. It happens when you feel safe enough to try again. You can't bully yourself into becoming better. You can only encourage yourself forward. Every time you choose kindness over criticism, you build self-trust. You start believing that no matter what happens, you have your own back. Think about how powerful that is, to know that even when things fall apart, you won't abandon yourself. That's what being your own ally means. It means showing up for yourself when no one else does. It means looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm not perfect, but I'm trying, and that's enough for today." It's not weakness, it's strength. Because it takes real courage to stand by yourself through the tough moments. Anyone can be confident when everything is going right, but true confidence is built in the moments when you choose not to turn against yourself. The world is already full of criticism. There will always be people who doubt you, judge you, or misunderstand you. You can't control that, but you can control your inner voice. You can choose to make it your greatest source of encouragement instead of your greatest source of pain. Every time you replace judgment with understanding, you weaken the grip of self-doubt. You create space for resilience, patience, and self-respect to grow. It's not about ignoring your mistakes. It's about responding to them with intention. When you approach yourself with kindness, you open the door for progress. You start seeing every failure as feedback, not as proof that you're not enough. Over time, this changes how you move through life. You stop being paralyzed by fear of failure because you know you'll handle it with grace. You start taking more chances because you trust yourself to recover. That's what it means to be your own ally, to be on your own team, to cheer for yourself, and to refuse to speak words that tear you down. The inner critic has a way of sneaking into every core, nerve of your mind. It shows up when you make a mistake, when you hesitate, or even when you're about to do something great. That voice whispers, "You're not ready, you're not good enough," or "You always mess this up." It's subtle but powerful enough to hold you back from the life you deserve. The truth is, that voice isn't you. It's a collection of old fears, memories, and doubts that you've absorbed over time. It's the echo of people who didn't believe in you, moments when you felt embarrassed or failed, and the pressure of trying to be perfect. But here's what most people never realize. You can interrupt that voice. You can stop it mid-sentence and replace it with something stronger, something that builds you instead of breaking you. Every time your mind says, "I can't," you have a choice. You can agree and stay small, or you can answer back and say, "I'm learning." The moment you do that, you reclaim power. You interrupt the pattern that's been running unconsciously for years. The more you challenge that voice, the weaker it becomes. The brain is designed to believe what it hears most often, so if negativity gets the most airtime, that's what sticks. But when you consistently respond with truth, optimism, and self-belief, your mind starts to adapt. It begins to recognize that you're not interested in being your own enemy anymore. Think of it like retraining a wild animal. At first, the critic will resist. It will get louder because it doesn't want to lose control. It will throw every memory of failure at you to make you doubt yourself again. But you stay calm, you stay patient, you repeat your new words even when they feel unnatural. You say, "I've got this," or "I'm capable," or "This might be hard, but I'll figure it out." Over time, those words start to feel more believable. They start to sound like you. And that's when real transformation begins. Interrupting the inner critic doesn't mean pretending everything is positive. It means refusing to give power to the thoughts that keep you stuck. You can acknowledge your fear without feeding it. You can say, "Yes, I'm scared," and still move forward. You can feel uncertain and still take the next step. The goal isn't silence, it's control. It's learning to steer the conversation in your head instead of letting it steer you. When you master that, your confidence changes. You stop needing approval from others because you've become your own encourager. You start taking action faster because the noise in your head no longer dictates your pace. You become calmer, clearer, and more focused because your energy isn't wasted fighting yourself. And that's the ultimate freedom. To live with a mind that supports you instead of one that attacks you. It all starts with catching that voice, interrupting it, and replacing it with truth. Again and again until belief becomes your new default. Real change doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small, consistent actions repeated again and again until I reshape who you are. Most people wait for a perfect moment to start. When motivation strikes, when life feels easier, when they finally feel ready. But that moment never comes because transformation doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with consistency, the power of doing something for 5 days straight. Especially something as simple as speaking kindly to yourself can create a shift that lasts far beyond those days. Every repetition rewires your brain a little more. Every time you replace a harsh thought with a kind one, you're carving a new path in your mind, a path that leads toward confidence, self-respect, and strength. At first, it feels uncomfortable. It feels fake. You'll catch yourself thinking, this isn't working, or I don't believe this. That's normal. You've spent years believing the opposite. Your mind has been trained to doubt you, to point out flaws, to prepare for failure. So when you introduce a new way of thinking, your brain resists it. But the moment you push through that resistance and keep going, you're teaching yourself something extraordinary. You're showing yourself that you can be disciplined even without immediate results. That's how transformation begins. It's not about one big leap. It's about small, deliberate steps that accumulate into unstoppable momentum. Consistency is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. You can have all the inspiration in the world, but without follow-through, it fades. The beautiful thing is that self-talk doesn't require time, money, or luck. It only requires effort. A few intentional words repeated daily can completely rewire the way you see yourself. When you commit to 5 days of conscious self-talk, you start building a foundation of mental strength. You stop being controlled by your emotions and start leading them. You prove to yourself that you're in charge of your thoughts, not the other way around. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. That consistency builds trust in yourself. When you say, I'll do this, and you actually do, your brain begins to believe you. That belief turns into confidence, and that confidence spills into everything you do. Suddenly, you're not just changing how you talk to yourself. You're changing how you walk, how you make decisions, how you handle setbacks. It's easy to underestimate what a few days of effort can do, but think about this. Every major transformation begins with a short commitment that keeps growing. 5 days can become 10, 10% can become a month, and before you know it, you've changed your entire inner dialogue. You no longer need to push yourself to think positively. It becomes your natural state. Consistency is what transforms effort into identity. When you speak to yourself with intention every day, it stops being an exercise. It becomes who you are. Gratitude has the power to transform the way you see yourself and the way you experience life. Most people associate gratitude with being thankful for what they have, family, opportunities, small wins. But very few practice gratitude toward themselves. They push themselves hard, meet expectations, survive tough days, and still end the night thinking they didn't do enough. That mindset keeps you trapped in a constant loop of striving and self-criticism. But when you pause each day to thank yourself, to acknowledge your effort, your persistence, your courage, you create a completely different emotional energy. Gratitude toward yourself builds inner peace. It reminds your mind that you're not just surviving, you're showing up despite the fear, despite the struggle, despite the doubts. When you finish a day and take a moment to say, thank you for trying or thank you for showing up today, it signals to your brain that your effort matters. You start to associate progress with kindness, not punishment. That changes everything. Because the truth is, growth doesn't thrive in an environment of pressure. It thrives in an environment of appreciation. When you appreciate yourself, you reinforce your worth. You start to believe that you are deserving of love, rest, and success. You stop waiting for others to validate you because you begin to validate yourself. That internal validation is what makes you unshakable. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring what needs improvement. It simply means recognizing that even while you're working to become better, you are already doing something right. Maybe you didn't finish everything on your to-do list, but you showed up. Maybe you're not where you want to be yet, but you're trying. That's enough to be proud of. Gratitude helps you focus on progress instead of perfection. It teaches you to celebrate small victories, the ones you usually overlook. The more you practice it, the more your brain starts scanning for good things instead of what's missing. Over time, that shift in focus creates resilience, optimism, and self-trust. It's also a way of building momentum. When you end your day with gratitude, you prime your mind to wake up motivated. You're no longer carrying the weight of self-blame or disappointment. Instead, you carry a sense of peace and readiness to grow. Imagine lying in bed at night and saying to yourself, I did my best today. I learned, I tried, and tomorrow I'll keep going. That's not weakness, that's strength. It's choosing to build yourself up instead of tearing yourself down. Over time, gratitude becomes a habit. You start noticing the good in your actions, the growth in your mistakes, and the power in your perseverance. You realize that you don't need to be perfect to be proud. You just need to recognize the courage it takes to keep moving forward. Gratitude locks in growth because it gives your mind a reason to keep believing in you. And when you believe in yourself, you become unstoppable. Every transformation begins with a simple decision to start speaking to yourself differently. The voice inside your head is either your biggest limitation or your greatest source of power. For years, you may have allowed that voice to criticize you, to hold you back, to convince you that you're not enough. But now, you know the truth. You are the one in control of that voice. You decide what it says, how it sounds, and what it believes. When you talk to yourself with kindness, courage, and faith, you're not just changing your mindset, you're changing the entire direction of your life. 5 days of intentional self-talk may not seem like much, but it's the beginning of something extraordinary. Because what you practice for 5 days can become a pattern for a lifetime. Every time you choose encouragement over judgment, you grow stronger. Every time you replace doubt with belief, you step closer to your potential. You are teaching your mind to work with you, not against you. You are building a relationship with yourself that's based on trust, patience, and respect. And once that relationship is solid, nothing and no one can break it. Remember this, you don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all figured out to move forward. You just need to start speaking like the person you want to become and keep doing it even when it feels uncomfortable. Because the more you speak words of belief, the more your brain adapts, your confidence grows, and your world begins to shift. The change doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments. In the way you respond to mistakes, in the way you encourage yourself to keep trying, in the way you look in the mirror and finally see someone worthy of love, success, and peace. So from this moment forward, promise yourself that you'll never again use your own voice as a weapon against you. Use it as a shield, as a source of strength, as a reminder that you are capable of more than you've ever allowed yourself to believe. Speak to yourself with honesty, compassion, and conviction, because the words you choose today will create the reality you live tomorrow. And as you move through the next 5 days, keep one thought close to your heart. You are becoming your own greatest ally. The journey starts now with one kind word, one brave thought, one powerful choice. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And thank you for believing, because that belief is the spark that transforms everything. Keep going, keep growing, and never forget the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself.